Hi everyone, Jason from Iron Fence Shop. Today I wanted to go over how to install our Infinity aluminum fence panels to give you an idea how everything goes together. Now if you haven't watched our video on marking your layout and setting your posts, you may want to go check that one out first. This video is going to assume that the posts are all laid out and that you're ready to install the fence panels. Now let's go get started and see how this all goes together. Before we jump into installing the fence, let's make sure that you got the basic tools required. Here's a list of what you'll need. Measuring tape, a level, a quality drill or power driver, cutting tool for metal, such as hacksaw, sawzall, cutoff wheel, basically anything with a metal blade, ratchet and socket set, masking tape or felt tip marker that will show up on black fence, metal file, and a hammer and rubber mallet. Now that you have your tools, let's go over the main components that we'll send you in your order. For the items we send you, there's really only 4 main components to our aluminum fences. Your post and post caps, your fence panels, your self-tapping screws, and your installation kit that we include at no charge that has all the odds and ends you'll need to get the fence put in. Now let's head down to the shop for a demonstration on how this all goes together. Depending on your project, there are a couple ways your aluminum fence panel can be attached to your post. The standard way is to insert your fence panel rails into the punches on the face of the post as shown here. The railing will slide into the punch on the post, and the indentation of the fence rail will act as a stop so the railing fits consistently. Now some options you may be offered are if you're mounting your fence panel to the side of a building, a wood post, a masonry post, something other than our aluminum posts, you'll be given a wall bracket as shown here. That bracket will slide over the rail and has a hole at the bottom for your mounting hardware. Be sure when using a wall bracket that you account for the 3/4 inch of railing in your measurements that will not be going inside one of our aluminum posts. Lastly, if you have a curved or angled section of fence in your project, we would provide you with one of our aluminum swivel brackets. These brackets have a shaped piece that fits over the rail and a flat portion that will go against your post and mount with self-tapping screws. If your project calls for swivel brackets, be sure that you account for an additional 2 to 4 inches between the posts, depending on how much you're angling the fence panel. The next step is to determine how far off the ground you want your fence installed. The norm is typically 2 to 3 inches off the ground to leave enough space for your weed trim underneath it without raking the trimmer line across the bottom of the pickets. A little installation tip here is to find a piece of scrap wood roughly the same height as the gap you want and place it under the fence panel when installing everything. You'll be installing your aluminum fence and posts in the ground at the same time. Your post hole cement should be mixed a little on the dry side so that it holds your post and fence panel upright without any additional support. Be sure as you go that you install all of your fence panels with the screws on the panel facing the same way. Typically the side of the panel with the screws will face the home and the side without the screws will face outward of the property to the street. With your fence panel inserted in the post and the post in the cement, use your level to make sure that the panel is plumb to the ground on the face of the fence panel and that your post is level to the ground on the inside and outside of the post. With all of your fence panels installed into the post and set up, the last step is to secure the self-tapping screw through the post into the fence rail that ties the fence system together. Before making this final connection, you'll want the post cement dried enough that installing the screw would not disturb the fence panel's plumb and level position. To make the final post to fence connection, we utilize a self-tapping screw that goes through the post and into the fence rail inside the post. If you look closely at the self-tapping screw, you will see the head of it is a tiny drill bit. This screw will drill its own hole into the post and then thread itself in. No pilot holes are necessary. Typically, your self-tapping screw will be drilled into the post on the same side where all your fence panel screws are facing. You'll want to position and drill the self-tapping screw roughly 1/2 inch in from the edge of the post and 1/4 inch up from the bottom of the fence rail. While not required, a little installation tip is to use a center punch to give your self-tapping screw something to bite into. Just be sure to give the aluminum post a medium tap with your hammer. You only need a small indentation for the screw to get started in. Start the drill until you feel the screw punch through the wall of the post and the panel. When you feel the screw go through the rail inside the post, slow down the drill and leave it a little loose. Repeat this step for all the rail to post connections for your fence panel. Once you have all the self-tapping screws loosely connected, go back with your ratchet and socket to snug up the screws. They only need to be snug, you don't want to over-tighten them and strip out the threads. The majority of your fence panels will not need trimmed. However, most installations call for an aluminum fence panel in a corner, end of a run, or near a gate that will need to be shorter than its full panel width. We first want to measure out the fence panel to determine where we will need to make the cut. Be sure that you account for the 3/4 inch of fence rail that fits inside the post. Ideally, you want to try and make your cut as close to the picket on the sides you are removing to preserve the air gap spacing between the pieces. Mark all the horizontal rails where the cut will be made with masking tape or a marker. Using your cutting tool of choice, cut through each rail. While not as fast as a power tool, I prefer a good old hacksaw for a straighter and more controlled cut. After cutting off the portion of the fence panel not needed, you'll need to notch the end of the rail to fit inside the post. The cut will be 3/4 inch across and 1/4 inch down as shown in this picture. This can easily be done with a hacksaw, heavy-duty snips, or a power tool. After cutting off the unneeded portion and notching your panel, take your metal file and clean up any burrs or rough edges left at the cuts. Lastly, touch up the cut with paint. A little trick of the trade is to spray some of your touch-up paint on the can's cap and use a Q-tip or a small brush to apply the paint to your surface. And there you have it. That's the basics of installing our Infinity aluminum fence panels to the post. Now don't be discouraged if it seems to take a little bit longer than you thought it would. You're going to find with each progressive panel the speed picks up a little bit as you get more used to doing the installation procedure. If you order one of our matching gates, we didn't forget about you. Within our printed full installation guide, we go through all the different installation procedures for the different hinge and latch options available. We also have a gates-only installation guide that covers just that hardware that you can download as well. Now, if you have any questions that today's video didn't answer, be sure to go to the Knowledge Center on our website and check out the full installation guide. Within there, we've got lots of DIY photos, tips, measurement guides, all sorts of stuff inside there that'll help. Now, if you still have questions after reviewing that, feel free to give us a call here at 800-261-2729 or shoot us an email at sales@ironfenceshop.com. We look forward to hearing from you, and we're here to help with your installation.